Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It's a beautiful Monday morning, March 18th, 2024. We tend to get together most weekday mornings and talk with our current and prospective distribution partners, as well as our current and prospective grant participants. This is an established and reoccurring session to be able to assist each of you to make sure that we're fulfilling what we've promised to do. If you are a participant, we should certainly be scheduling one-on-one calls to talk about your file. If you are a distribution partner, we should also be scheduling one-on-ones, but we can cover some general information here. What should be shared on the screen is chapmanloanprogram.org. This is the website, more of a resource page, if you will, that was created after we received the grant. And it's a very important resource site, regardless if you are a client or distribution partner, current or prospective. I'll give you a quick walkthrough, and then we're going to open it up for really Q&A. What is it that each of you need to know so we can assist you today? So on chapmanloanprogram.org, at the top, we have a bulleted summation of what is it that we do. Because what we do is helping small businesses become fundable. The issue that we commonly talk about is most small business owners want to need funding to start or grow, but the real problem is often they don't have a fundable business. So that's the problem. Sure, they want funding, but really what they should want is to have a fundable business, because when you have a fundable business, then you can qualify for funding. And so when we put the grant documentation together, it included essentially a bullet list of pretty much anything that would be needed from ground zero to having a fundable business in a 30 to 60 day window. On the first bullet here, though, we do realize that some entrepreneurs want and need funding even before the business is fundable. And so now we have what we call first tranche financing. It's referred to here in this first bullet. So our goal is to get funding offers for grant participants immediately, and those funds will usually hit the participant's account within about a week, whereby the entire process of building a fundable business, again, is normally a 30 to 60 day process. A lot of folks will ask us, well, what if I already have some of these things? Let's say you already have an EIN or you already have a good credible address. That's fine. That's fine. So once you've enrolled in the grant, we'll do an assessment. If we want to start from scratch and build a new business from the ground up, we can do so. However, if you have a current entity and you have some of these elements already, then that's fine. Then we can use your current entity. That all gets flushed through once you've enrolled and we have you set up in the system. We have distribution partners. Many of you are distribution partners. And so our distribution partners are incredibly important because they help us go out and build financial literacy. As I alluded to at the beginning of the Zoom today, the problem is one of financial illiteracy. A lot of small business owners don't know what it takes to have a fundable business. So, of course, if you don't know what it takes, how could you make educated decisions, strategic decisions to position your business to become fundable? So a big part of what our distribution partners do is we teach in person and or online. So the reason I bring that up at this point in the conversation is here on the page, if you are a prospective participant coming to us directly, then there are two steps. Step one, step two to participate. However, if you're a potential participant and you were referred by one of our distribution partners, you would go back to them and they would help you get plugged in. If you are a prospective participant, what we'll call direct to us, the first thing that we ask you to do is become familiar with how this works, because we love educated clients. And what I mean by that, we're not talking about prior education. We're talking about, do participants understand what it is that we do? Because when you understand what we do and how it works, I think you'd agree it makes perfect sense. It's legal, it's credible, it's effective. There's no risk. What we don't like is when participants enroll and they kind of make up what they're expecting. And so then there could be a greater concern of inconsistency between what we promise to do and what they're expecting. So in step one, we ask all potential participants to review a proposal and then to watch this training video. I'll pull it up. We won't watch it together, and I'll make sure it's muted. It is muted. So well, we got to go through the ad here for 4 seconds. We'll let it tick through. Let's skip. And then we'll hit the pause once it appears. So the video here on step one talks about the 4 phases. And I think this is just so valuable. So prospective participants not only understand what are they getting. Of course, the goal is to get the business funding. We understand that, but we can't just wish for that upon a star. We have to qualify for it. So what this does a really nice job of describing the 4 phases, but the 4th phase being funding, but how we get there, why it's possible, why it's not too good to be true. So this is a great training video for prospective participants. And then those of you that are distribution partners, frankly, you could take this and either teach off of it if you wish, or even just play it. You can go down here to share and it'll pop up the YouTube link. And if you're not quite comfortable yet in telling the story yourself and describing how it works, you literally could just play this for your prospective participants. So that covers the top here. We have a number of resources that, including our phone number and email address, of course, but a number of resources that you might want to consider reviewing. These resources are more oriented towards those looking for capital, where these resources are more oriented to those of you that are either current or prospective distribution partners. So it's like 2 sides of the coin. We're very transparent. So it's not like there's some secrets that, you need to get some password to be able to review this information. Not at all. But let me briefly help you understand what resources are available from the participant side, then from the distribution partner side, and then we'll open it up for questions. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you'll type those into the Q&A, the question and answer box of Zoom. It's kind of like a chat box. So from a prospective participant perspective, we have a training video. So many of these are recorded on-demand YouTube videos. This one talks about options. We understand that if you're a small business owner, that there are different ways that you can go about having a fundable business, which is, of course, the end goal here. And so when we received the grant, one of the things that they required us to do is to create a comparison sheet. So it's not like, oh, we're the absolute best answer for everyone. We may not be. So that is here. This is to enroll as a client. And quite frankly, that's the same link as here. Financing offers with no hard inquiries is the third link. Normally we'll get into that more once we've established a client relationship. If you're on the live Zoom now, of course you've already done this, but if you're watching a recording of it, an on-demand version, this is where you could actually register and join us live. A lot of these materials we make available to our distribution partners in editable format, such as the press release. So the press release is great. It describes what we do in that type of format. If you are one of our distribution partners, we'll make sure that we provide you an editable version of many of these resources, but including the press release, because that's a very useful way to go out to banks, to accountants, to chambers, to churches, and to be able to introduce what we do without using flyers. I think flyers are less effective I think press releases and proposals are more what is relevant for our topic matter. This training video here maybe should be bolded. It's a longer presentation, but it goes through what are common mistakes that prevent entrepreneurs or small business owners from getting funding. And it, of course, dovetails into what we can help with. But this is a great training. Some of our distribution partners are out teaching this in person or online, but you have access to it on demand here. This describes the client implementation process step by step. Although I would argue also this kind of gives you a good understanding of what we do step by step as well. And then funding success stories. So these are some resources for current or prospective participants. In contrast, down here, it's from those of you that are interested in getting paid to help others. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Why would you decide to become a doctor, a medical doctor? Well, because you want to get paid to help people improve their health and well-being. Why would someone become a distribution partner? Because you want to get paid to help people improve their financial literacy and access to capital. Very credible. The first link here is to actually get signed up to be a distribution partner, whereby the bottom 4 links are, again, on-demand YouTube videos. This one here, you might say, oh, this sounds repetitive, the 4-phase, because we talked about it here. Well, the version of the 4-phase that's up here is really presented more to the client's perspective, whereby this one here is to help train you how to use it if you want to. Understanding the sales process and leads. In any business, any organization needs to have leads. You could start a new church and you need prospective leads, prospective congregation members. So it's okay to recognize that businesses need to have leads, no matter if our focus is on financial literacy. So we talk about sales process and leads here. Here we break down the economic model. This is not MLM, not that there's anything wrong with MLM, but we're not MLM or network marketing. It's not get rich quick, but it is truly a role where you could generate 6 figures a month on a very part-time basis. Our advisory board met over the weekend, and the decision was made that we're going to actually morph this in from what is considered a license model now, which you'll see it's considered a license agreement, to actually being a franchise. So that'll change in the future. Those of you that are already involved, you're grandfathered in, but going forward, it will be a true franchise model, which we're excited about. And then best practices are the bottom link. So with that being said, let's open it up for questions, comments, concerns. We've got a good group today. What is it that you need to know? Now, again, if it's too personal, we may want to move it offline and talk individually. But if you're a client or a prospective client, is there anything that we can help you with that's above and beyond what you have here at your fingertips? If you're a current or prospective distribution partner, is there anything that you need to know? What can we do to help you? All right, well, Timothy has the first question, and it's related to the economic model. So let me go ahead and cue this up. We'll bring it up and then we'll pause it. So as Timothy made reference to, the economic model is really good because anytime that you're going into business, whether it's to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a banker, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal this past week about the average starting salary for MBAs going into the big consulting firms like Deloitte, which is where I used to work. The average starting salary is $175,000 a year. So there's a lot of money to be made in the financial marketplace. For you, this describes how you would be paid if you wanted to become a distribution partner. It helps you understand that you're paid 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, your total income per client. And there's some what if scenarios you can change. You're looking at making on average around 26, 27,000 for each time you refer a client in. So it's not too good to be true. It's not get rich quick, but you can play with this economic model. Let's say, well, if you're going to make 26,000 for each person you refer in, how many will you do a month? 8 a month, and of course, then that translates out. So yes, Timothy, if you want to play with this, you can, and you'll find that link here. But I know you all are smart. There's many things that you can be doing to help people and make money, and this is just one option. So we're kind of competing for your attention. If you're already generating, 100, 200,000 a month doing other things, then maybe this isn't a good fit. But if you are open to helping people and generating a great income, here's an opportunity. All right, so thank you for that, Timothy. Who else has questions, comments, concerns? What is it? If you're a distribution partner, what we'd normally ask you is, what can we do to help you enroll one client today? So don't worry about enrolling 8 clients in the month and making about $250,000. Don't worry about that yet. Right now, let's worry about enrolling one client today. Christina, I see you have your hand up. If you can go ahead and type your question into the Q&A, that I can best help you. So for those of you that are distribution partners like Christina, what help do you specifically need today? Let's not worry about long-term, get rich and retire in the Bahamas. Let's just a very basic step. What do you need? So Christina needs help with the paperwork. Okay, so Christina, let's talk about that. So as each of you become a distribution partner, if that's what you desire to do, I'm not here to pitch that on you, but if you want to get paid to help people, then that's what we do here. You get enrolled here, then we will send to you an editable version of the enrollment agreement. Because as a distribution partner, you're going out under your branding, under your umbrella, not as a rep of ours. So we should have provided you, Christina, and everyone else an editable Word agreement. And so it's based on the same agreement that we use. So then you would make changes as you desire, Christina and others, to that editable agreement. You can add a performance fee if you want. You can change pricing. Obviously, you'll remove any references to us and put your information on, because you're going out under your branding, your umbrella. So once you've made the changes that you want to make, then normally you would save that as a PDF, and normally then you would upload it into Adobe or DocuSign, whatever e-signature software that you want to use. So then you're able to send it to your client or prospective client at that point. They sign it and you sign it. So Christina, what questions do you have about the process? All right, Marilyn says she needs it. So Marilyn, go ahead and let's do this, Marilyn. Go ahead and send us an email with your request. Just because I'm not the best multitasker, and so when you're asking, some of you are asking for specific information, I'm not the best at keeping track of that while facilitating this. So if there's something that you individually need, go ahead and email it here versus requesting it on the fly. All right, Manuel says that he wants to go through as a client, and you're welcome to do that. And so there's a simple 2-step process, just as we discussed, Emmanuel. So you're good to go. Finish step 1 and then go right into step 2, and we'll get you onboarded today. Our goal would be to get you some funding offers today. We really like adding funding under the EIN whenever possible. All right, so back to Christina. So Christina says she's looking for a second set of documents. All right, Christina, I don't know, and it may be best if you and I visit individually, Christina, because I don't know what the second set of documents are. I don't know that there is a second set. So there's the client agreement. And so the client agreement, you get the client to sign, and then the client pays you. And then normally you would upload that into a branch Dropbox, a portal that we set up. But yeah, Christina, I think we're probably best served to visit individually afterwards. Carrie says not sure what her status is, and that's fine. So just go ahead and send us an email, Carrie or Marilyn or anyone that has specific questions, so we can be sure to get back with you and make sure that we're meeting your needs. Our goal is to have weekly one-on-ones with all of our clients and weekly one-on-ones with all of our distribution partners. So that doesn't mean that we can't help you before then, but my point is, for instance, if as you look forward to this week, if you don't have a scheduled call already, then that's inconsistent with how we should be working together. We use Calendly to schedule, but you can email us and we can help you on the fly and make sure you have the Calendly link. All right, so Kenya brings up a good point. So in the distribution model, we, instead of us, well, now I'll go with that. So instead of us training you how to do all the implementation, which would require a lot of time and a lot of effort, instead of that, what we're doing is we're doing all the implementation, our staff. So that makes it a lot simpler for you. As long as you're competent enough to enroll someone using a template that we provide you, which pretty much anyone could do that, then we take care of all the implementation. So it's not your burden to implement. That makes it so much easier for you. Thank you, Kenya, for that. Kenya's asking about a non-disclosure. So, Kenya, I guess what I'm assuming is that you have prospective clients that are asking you to sign an NDA before you start working with them. If that's the case, we can help you with that. But in general, you don't need to collect a bunch of information about clients. We've talked about it before. There's really two pre-qualifying questions for what you and I do together. The first pre-qualifying question is, are you, prospect, looking for funding to start or grow a business? And then secondly, do you have a fundable business currently? If they're looking for funding, then we're on the right track. If not, you're wasting your time. And if they don't have a fundable business, then that's perfect. That's exactly what we do is through a 4-phase process, build a fundable business. So we're looking for yes to the first question, obviously. Are they looking for funding to start or grow a business? And we're looking for a no for the second one. Do they currently have a fundable business? Now, oftentimes they won't know what a fundable business means, and that's why we've talked about why it's so important to educate. But we're here to help you with what's my point to Kenya. Kenya's asking about NDA. So what my point is, you probably don't even need to collect information from the client that would require them to sign an NDA, right? Because with your client agreement, just like Christina's enrolling a couple clients today, it's not asking for proprietary information. So I don't think that'll even be an issue, Kenya. All right, anyone else have any questions or comments? If you're a client, the question I would ask you is, do you feel like that we're on track to get you funding? If not, we need to resolve that because that's our responsibility, and I'd recommend emailing and we'll get scheduled. If you're a distribution partner, I would say the focus is, do you know what you need to get a client enrolled today? Because Thomas Kearns, and I don't know if he's on here, he usually listens to the recordings. He's great about saying every day should be payday as a branch office. That's what we call our distribution partners. So every day we need to make sure that you're paid, and that's how it really builds. So it's not like you have to go enroll 1 million clients, but as long as we can hit 2 a week on average, 8 a month, then or between 200 and 250,000 a month. Our experience is if we can make sure that each of you are making at least 6 figures a month, at least 100,000, you'll stick around because it's a good side gig. If you're not making at least 100,000 a month, we have a high probability that you'll go do something else because you're smart, and there's lots of ways you can go make 7 figures a year, 6 figures a month. So we're kind of competing for your involvement, and that starts with communication. So if you need help, be sure to let us know. All right, George has probably what will be the last question this morning. He asks, what kind of money does a small business need up front to get funding help? Well, as we've talked about in other trainings we didn't talk about today, the setup fee, George, that the client would pay you is $500. Now, normally that's refundable, so it goes back to the client. We talked about best practices on Friday's training, and there's a link to that here. But the short answer is, George, normally clients would pay you a $500 refundable setup fee. So that's their out of pocket. After that, we should be able to fund fund their participation going through the capital raises, which would include their first tranche. The first tranche will vary by client. We have an assumption here of 20,000 for the first tranche. Some clients will get more, some will get less. But the answer to George's question is, what will it require a client to get engaged? It's $500, and that's paid to you. Some people say, well, why is there an upfront cost? Well, they're not paying money to get a loan. What they're doing is they're paying to get assistance in going through these steps. And while we can make that a refundable setup fee, there just needs to be some skin in the game. I think you and I would, George, we'd waste a lot of time working with uncommitted people if there wasn't some sort of deposit. It's like, well, when you go rent an apartment, why do they charge a deposit? Because it's to create commitment and to filter out the people that really aren't serious. So you have some flexibility, George. If you wanted to make that less, you could make that less. But normally, each participant will pay you $500 on the day that they enroll, and then you'll be paid again in about a week, as you can see, from their first tranche of financing, and so forth. All right, well, thanks, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Let us know what we can do to assist you. We're here. Just let us know. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.